I like to talk about one weapon that made me give up on one of my most favourite games of all time, which is Gears of War. I absolutely adore Gears of War, all of them, even 4, even Judgment, whatever. And it's the Gnasher shotgun, because as soon as you took Gears of War online, people realised that they could just dodge roll up to you and one-shot kill you. And the devs had a right old time patching that out and addressing it in all the various forums. Every time they would sort of reduce the damage, then everyone would just go, well, that's the way we play and we should be allowed to do it. And that's it's a legitimate tactic if you're playing online, which it never was. And it just broke the whole thing. And I get that if you played it that way, then you had big old lols making people rage quit, which as you'll get onto later. But for the people on the receiving end of that, every time you started any match, you would just start exploring a map, someone would roll up to you, stand up, shoot you in the face, and then you were done again. It was the worst thing, and I wish it never happened ever. So I've only played like 5 minutes of Gears of War multiplayer, whereas I've played thousands of hours of everything else. So yeah, Gnasher shotgun. Shotgun. Yeah.
I love a bit of cheese in games, like whether it's offline or online, I love it. I'm going to talk about currently my favourite online shooter probably ever, and that's Splatoon 2.
Nice.
It's so good, it's so underrated, I feel like more people need to play it. It's as good as Call of Duty. It's better than Call of Duty.
High bar though, isn't it?
Well, so if you didn't know Splatoon 2, obviously, the main mode, it's all about covering the map in your colour of ink, and you can do so with a gun or a paintbrush, that sort of thing. And the cheapest weapon, in my opinion, is probably the roller.
It's a horrible, horrible thing, unless you're using it.
So it's literally just a paint roller, and you sort of just trundle along, pushing this wee roller, and you get quite good coverage from it, but the reason it's cheap is because literally you just roll over people and it kills them. And it's brilliant if you have the right setup where you can just like come up behind them. I have like boots that make me invisible, or is it my t-shirt that makes me invisible, one of the two. And I could just literally like sneak up behind someone and then just go with my roller, and I love it. Conversely though, like similarly to what some other people have said in this video, when someone does it to me, it's not okay. But when I do it to them, it's fine. Another shout out would be, of course, to the blob lobber. Because it's, okay, the blob lobber, it's Nintendo.
The blob lobber?
So it's
the blob lobber.
It's a bucket. It's a bucket. And if you imagine something like Junkrat in Overwatch, for example, it's literally just a bucket. You can sit on one end of a wall and do this.
It's pretty much Splatoon
and get kills.
Like a shotgun.
It's not so much a shotgun. It's closely, it would be like Junkrat, I would say. Junkrat. No, it's very long range. It's so cheesy. I love it. You're not even watching. You're just sitting throwing paint over a wall, and you get like, you splatted. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, very cheap weapon. Definitely. Probably, I'd say blob lobber is more cheaper than the roller, but...
You just like saying blob lobber.
Blob lobber.
Blob lobber.
Nintendo.
It's going to be a shooting game just because of the fact that is the hotbed of cheap multiplayer items in general. And I'm going to have to say, for a short while, there was one thing that ruined my life more than having to pay Ewan's mother alimony, and that was the Model 1887s from Modern Warfare 2 pre-patch, because they were the worst things. Now, yes, you did have to be like level 67, 69, nice, to unlock them, but...
Didn't need to do that.
Didn't need to, but it did. And if you unlock these akimbo shotguns, not only did they have devastating power, but the range was ridiculous, and it was dominating the multiplayer landscape for a while. So hated that. Glad that they patched that out.
Have you used them yourself? Have you felt the power?
Yeah. I mean, it's just leveling the playing field when everyone is using one. Like, I can't be judged for the actions of the rest of my fellow men. But once that was patched, it was then the Spaz 12. Everyone used that. That was stinky as well. But there was another game that got brought up just before we started filming, which is Halo. And Ewan and I were talking about how it was like when Bungie were at the helm, it was actually quite balanced. And then when Studio 343 took over, not so much so. But then there's one thing that we have overlooked, which is the Magnum in the first Halo. That was still Bungie, and that was pretty overpowered to the point where when they nerfed it, people got angry. And then they actually brought it back for the Halo anniversary thing. So if you can actually play it, if you can actually get online, because it's
finally, it is finally online.
How many years?
5 we're on now.
That's good.
5 years.
That's good. So they've managed to get the game actually to a playable state, so you can still use that broken Magnum. So yeah, guns in general, pretty overpowered.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to Jules, my initial... I was only going to comment on this, but just to echo Jules, the Spaz 12 from Modern Warfare 2 was quite an interesting weapon, because back in those days, a shotgun was your secondary, which actually has come full circle, because Black Ops 4's got shotguns as secondaries, thanks Treyarch. But the Spaz 12 was one that was a bit of a pain. It was one that I did use personally, because it was ridiculous. I mean, in real life, shotguns have incredible range. In video games, they don't. Like, if you're this close to it, you get absolutely pulverized. If you're this close to it, you get brushed by a gnat's queef when you're using a shotgun. But the Spaz 12 was one that... Hashtag Nats Queef. But the Spaz 12 was quite an interesting weapon, and I did use it. I was going to mention that, or maybe the pre-patched lock and load from Team Fortress 2, which is like a double-barrel grenade launcher that could fire 3 grenades, because video games. Yeah. Trademark Scott Telford. But no, I think the most overpowered, annoying thing that got me most recently is, it's Call of Duty again, but in Black Ops 4 and 3, the idea of using a sniper rifle to run around the map and use it like a shotgun, which admittedly is nothing new in Call of Duty, but more recently, the idea of sticking an ACOG or an iron sight on a sniper rifle and running around with it, for some reason grinds my gears so much.
Totally with you.
It pushes me off multiplayer whenever I play it, because there's always only one person on a game with that, and I always seem to be put on the opposite team to that particular person. And it just irritates me. The rest of it, like in Black Ops 4 for example, it's really, really balanced, unless you use a sniper with an ACOG sight, and then I'm gonna quit.
And you were wrong.
Yeah, I've never lowered myself to use it, mainly because I'm not good enough to use it. I'm not that great with snap aiming and stuff, but it's horrible.
You hear that, audience? Rich Hudson's above you.
Well, here's the thing, right? There are a lot of cheap games and multiplayer games, but I am not like you guys. I will happily lower myself to use every one of them because I don't care.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
I have no loyalty to these people, Scott. I have no loyalty to anyone in this room, and I have no loyalty to the people I'm playing against online because they're going to use it, so why shouldn't I? So obviously I've used every gun mentioned here. I've used the Spaz 12, I've used the model Akimbos, I've used every single thing to give me that little bit of an advantage.
Mutually assured destruction.
That's exactly it, mutually assured destruction. But the thing I enjoyed the most and hated getting killed by the most was in Battlefield 3 with, I think it was the shotgun, the USAS 12. If you had that shotgun and you put on the frag ammo, I believe, you could essentially, like Rich was saying before, use it as a sniper rifle, just to knock people down from across the map, and you could essentially just set up camp, just go prone in the middle of a choke point and just keep firing down there, because I think it was semi-auto as well, so you could just keep going with it, and anyone that walked in your path was just instantly dead. So you didn't even have to move with it, which is brilliant, because I'm very lazy, both in games and in real life, so I could just sit down and just annihilate these people trying to capture the flag, and just love it. I realised this is not really the point of the video. I've just said how good this gun is.
That's fine.
Even though we're supposed to be annoyed by them. But then you were annoyed because you could get killed back. Someone else would counter-snipe you. So you were essentially counter-sniping people with a shotgun on this game. And the Battlefield franchise as a whole has always struggled with shotguns in particular. Back in Bad Company, the slug rounds, thank you, Ewan, were notoriously difficult to combat. And in the most recent game, one of them, the trench gun, one of the guns is also bad.
Battlefield, mate.
Battlefield has a lot of unbalanced weapons, right? Yeah. DICE always sort them out, but for a brief period of time, you can always exploit them and have a lot of fun, and then get really annoyed when people do it against you because they're really cheap, but I'm not. I'm just doing what I'm gonna do. Doing what I gotta do to get the top of the leaderboard, bro.
That's fair.
Don't know why. I've never said bro in my entire life.
You don't everything you stand for, Josh.
Thank you. I don't.
Oh, honestly, Scott, Ash does not play multiplayer games. I don't like sharing. I don't like being with other people. This is completely not my bag. The one multiplayer game I have played repeatedly is Evolve, of course. But the only thing I can think of for that is when you're the Wraith and run around and do a decoy, and that was kind of overpowered, but it was too enjoyable to do to actually complain about, because I was always like, whenever you could actually level up your Wraith and go run around and steal people. But it wasn't that overpowered, and no one plays it, so no one can get annoyed about it. True. So we're all right, really, aren't we?
Philosophically, though, would you take the overpowered thing? Would you use the biggest weapon available, if possible?
I don't understand why you wouldn't. I don't understand why you wouldn't. But yeah, listening to all your people's results of these multiplayer escapades, I'm just not going to play them, am I? I'm not. That's what this has decided. Everyone's a knob.
everyone is a dick in these games, and I don't want to experience it. I'm having a nice time, offline, unplugged, router out the window. Done. Literally the only other thing I can think of is maybe Strange Brigade, when you get the shotgun and the shock gun.
The shock gun.
The shock gun.
Right.
And can launch it at the Minotaurs, because the Minotaurs are right bitches, and it takes so long to actually kill them. You get the shotgun, you can do it in like 2
Which gun?
shots. Shock
Right.
gun, not the shot gun.
No, definitely the shock gun.
Shock gun.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the orderly burst rifle, where you can put 4 different stones in it and make it like one-shot kill. But
Right, nerd.
yeah, I really liked Strange Brigade. That was my good Christmas game, but also didn't play it online. That was just generally killing zombies. But you could do that online too. So
Best and the worst of both worlds.
fuck online. That's all I have to say.
In order to touch this raw nerve, I need to go way back to about 2007, when I first started getting into online games. Yes, I was an annoying, loudmouth 12-year-old
Oh, we all were.
on a microphone that wouldn't. But we'll get past that. You know, we all redeem ourselves at one point or another.
Teabagging, 2006.
Yeah, probably a little bit of teabagging, maybe a little bit. But there was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, a game I probably shouldn't have been playing, but I played it anyway. And there was this gun called the M16, which was really bad. That got on my nerves a little bit, not gonna lie. But I only played that at my mate's house. And then by the time came, I managed to like convince my parents that I could be allowed to shooty-shoot online. Call of Duty World at War came out, which is a really underrated, I think that's actually quite one of the underrated Call of Duty games. It was really good. Treyarch's second after, because they did Call of Duty 3 first.
Sure.
And this was like set in like the Eastern Front and then also the Pacific campaign. So it's 2 kind of aspects of the war we don't really see in video games, but whatever. We come to the multiplayer. I'm like totally enthralled by this because I'm a proper history guy. I love history. So I'm there like, oh, look at these authentic weapons. This is really cool. Bit inaccurate that you can reload the M1 Garand without it firing all its clip, but we'll ignore that. And then I'm going around and I'm having a great old time shooting stuff. And then I'm beginning to notice a recurring theme. It's this thing called the MP40, which was a submachine gun used by the German forces during that conflict. And for some odd reason, Treyarch just decided to make it the best thing ever. So people would go around with like a dual magazine, a stopping power or juggernaut, whatever their poison was, and they'd just go around and torment me over and over and over. That's Call of Duty World at War, the MP40. Tried using different guns, but it was always the same. It never stopped. They just kept on coming and coming. And sometimes at night, I wake up and I hear the pop, pop, pop of the MP40.